Alright, hello, greetings. So I have opened the simulation that we put together in the last screencast. And so if I flip over to the problem statement, essentially last class or last screencast we set up problem 1A. And so it's our first CHEMCAD simulation looking at modeling an absorption process. And so what I want to look at here is just the subtlety associated with part C in terms of changing the number of stages. Right. So in part 1, we were modeling an absorption column with 6 trays. And then in part C, we were asked to look at the effect of using 12 trays instead of 6. Okay. And so the subtlety is so just to look at this again, is currently I have 6 stages. Okay. And in terms of my 6 stages, okay, so here's stream 1, here's my solvent going to the top, right? It's going to flow downward. I'll let gravity take control. My gas is going to flow in the bottom and flow countercurrent to my solvent. So I have 6 stages, and when it comes to my inlets, right? My inlets can be connected to any of these blue dots, and I say any of the blue dots because then I specify what tray my feed's coming in on here are my specifications. And so stream 1, my solvent was being fed in on tray 1, and my gas was being fed at the bottom at tray 6, where when I have 6 stages, top tray corresponds to 1, I increment downwards, bottom tray corresponds to 6. Okay, cool. And so the subtlety I want to just note is in part C, it asks what the effect is of increasing the number of trays. Okay, so one, I guess just to make things complete. So in terms of treated gas, okay, remember 3.2%. My inlet gas stream is 3.2% acetone. Treated gas coming out right now. Let me put it in mole percent. Right, it's 1.4 mole percent. So if I were to increase the number of trays, the subtlety is just if I increase this to 12, number of trays 12, and click OK. Okay. I get a warning, right? The warning is just a reminder there's no reboiler and no feed on the last tray, right? So what they're telling me is well, you increase the number of stages to 12, okay? Reboiler, right? Remember the reboiler is this bottom tray. Is they're telling you that, okay, I have 12 trays, but I don't actually have a feed on tray 12 on my final tray. And the issue is even though I updated the number of trays to 12, stream 2, right, it's still being fed in on tray 6 because that's where it's being fed before, and I didn't change that as well. Okay, and so it's just a reminder if I change the number of stages to 12, right, I also need to adjust my feed streams, right? One's still going to be 1 because the top tray is always 1, okay, but tray n, right, that number corresponding to tray n is going to change. And so I need to change this to 12 as well. And so then when I click, OK, I can run it, run selected or run all, and then I'll get my new results, okay, with 12 trays as compared to 6, right? And it looks like we can dig more into this in class, but it doesn't look like, so mole percentage wise, haven't decreased, or the concentration of acetone doesn't change all that much. All right, and so if I have this in kilomoles per hour, so 3.2 kilomoles per hour going in, okay, right, and coming out it's 1.41, right? It's pretty similar to what I had before. Okay, so cool, right? And so that's all I want to point out is just looking at this. If I change the number of trays, okay, well then I need to be careful and conscious, and also make sure I adjust the feed stage. Okay, so if I want to go back to 6. Okay, let's just look what the warning message is. Okay, I get a message in terms of there's an issue with my feed location. Okay, so if I go back in, right, this is 12, at most this can be 6. Okay, and these initial discussions are pretty preliminary. Right, we'll play around with sensitivity studies later on, where we can vary things like the number of trays and look at what the effect is on the acetone concentration, right? We can, do these what-if scenarios, but for now, I'm going to keep it at that. Okay, hope that helps.